Hello, everyone. This is Devin Thorpe for Your Mark on the World, and we are really fortunate to have with us today an extraordinary individual who's going to give us some counsel on philanthropy. This is Peter Klein of Klein Wealth Management of HighTower Advisors. Peter, thank you very much for joining us. It's great to have you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Devin. My pleasure, and I'm happy to be here.
Well, it's not often we get to have a few minutes with someone with your expertise and depth of experience, but I'm sure that as you work with your clients, that you experience a lot of opportunities to help people begin a real philanthropic model. And not always are these folks people with vast wealth, but sometimes modest wealth who are trying to figure out how to use their wealth to do good in the world. Is that a fair assessment of where you're coming from?
Yeah, we like to call it legacy building. We see a number of our clients come to us, and this is becoming more and more often, where they're not from extraordinary means and have come to us and said, you know, I want to do something for when I'm gone. I want to do something for the next generation, for my kids and grandkids. I want to set them up not just with capital, but with experience and with legacy planning. And to that end, we often see a charitable vehicle employed, be it a foundation or a donor-advised fund.
So tell us a little bit about what you're doing. I imagine that for your modestly wealthy, if we can coin a term, your modestly wealthy clients, the donor-advised funds often work best.
They do. Many of our clients have used those. They are a wonderful vehicle for what I like to call the democratization of giving. You know, no longer does one need to be a Rockefeller with vast means to make a difference in the world. We're seeing many clients come to us and say, you know, when I'm gone, I'll use my assets while I'm here, but when I'm gone, I would like them to go to a donor-advised fund with the express purpose to have my family determine where that eventual distribution should go. So what we find is many of the times the individual family members gather around kitchen table or what have you, and they discuss the virtues of various different non-profit entities, and they make decisions together as a family on where where they should the donations should go that year. And if you think about it, it's a wonderful way for the family to stay together, to stay on topic, to stay on mission, to have the values of the grantor, let's call it the grandfather in this case, be passed down to generation upon generation. And we find it to be very awe-inspiring and very effective, also from a tax perspective as well.
What percentage of assets are people often leaving in the donor-advised funds versus what is flowing to the other heirs?
You know, you see, we're seeing a change in that regard, whereas many of our clients are saying to themselves, you know, I've educated my children, I've set them up in business or helped them through that and helped them, you know, get started with a home or stuff of that nature. I don't want to give them much more in the way of wealth. They've gotten a substantial and they're on their way. What I would like to give them is an opportunity to pass along my values and my interests in a philanthropic, charitable way. And many of our clients are coming to us and saying, how do I do that? Do we set up a family foundation? Do we utilize a donor-advised fund? How do we best execute this legacy plan? And it's been, you know, very exciting to see this, because now we're, you know, the family, as I said earlier, gets together and they're able to make these important decisions. Not only that, but they're also learning valuable lessons, not only about giving, but about due diligence, about studying the actual nonprofit to see if they're on target, if their finances are in good order, and what wonderful learning lessons that is for individuals and young people.
It really is an important part of estate planning. How does what are the tax benefits that accrue here when one leaves some money to a donor-advised fund?
So,
what are the tax issues that you're thinking about in this situation?
well, there's a couple of things you could do. Let's say we have a client with a highly appreciated stock, whereby it would be a fairly substantial capital gain upon liquidation. So what they can do is gift that substantial appreciation stock to a donor-advised fund and escape the tax liability. In addition, they get a donation on those assets, so they're able to deduct that from their taxes year one. And well, there are parameters with that, but for the most part. And
so there's really two different taxes you're avoiding in that situation, right? You're avoiding the capital gains tax, plus because you're getting the tax deduction for the donation, you're shielding your other income from tax effectively.
Yeah, double bagger, correct. Yeah.
And then I kind of interrupted you. You were going on to say.
Right. So then the capital is now in the donor advised fund, and it can now grow at a rate without taxation, because there's no taxation expenses associated with that money once it's in a donor advised fund or a family foundation. So there's a great, one would argue that there would be faster appreciation given the fact that they're not seeing any tax liabilities.
Yeah. I sit on a nonprofit board where we manage some donor-advised funds, and some are really quite small. What size range are you seeing in terms of people who are undertaking this? I suspect that most of the people you deal with are putting large six-figure and some seven-figure amounts in there, but I suspect there's a broad range. What are you seeing?
There is a broad range, and we do have, a fair amount of our clients in the higher stratosphere of, six-figure kind of donations, and they do it more than once, so it's over a period of years, perhaps even. In addition, we're seeing individuals who start smaller, perhaps they're younger, and they want to give. They want to make a difference. They want to start early, and they want to get their families involved from the outset. And that's a trend we're seeing more and more, where even a 55-year-old, not the typical person you would think of worrying about estate planning, starts a donor-advised fund with the express purpose of teaching his children, let's call them in their 20s, about giving at a young age. And think about the opportunities that will come from that over time as they grow and become more proactive givers. That is, it's a very exciting trend, and we're seeing more and more of that.
What are the rules on a donor-advised fund in terms of how much of the money must be given actually to an end charity, and over what time frames? How long can the money just sit there?
It can sit there. There isn't a defined time frame. You have to give all the money that's in a donor-advised fund to approved 501c3 charities. So
there's no deadline for when you do that.
That's right. That's right. And now let's contrast that a moment with a private foundation. So in a foundation, you have a requirement to give 5% of your corpus or your assets away to qualified nonprofits annually in order to remain a tax-exempt entity.
Yeah, and that has complications, especially in a year when you might have investment losses in that portfolio as well, right?
Possibly, but if your values are down, your 5% calculation will be down as well. So, and the IRS allows you a carry forward. So let's say you gave away more than 5% in 2011. And in 2012, you want to pull back from that giving, you could use the overage or the carry forward, as they call it, to over 5 years to reduce your giving prior to that.
So you can protect the assets of the foundation that way.
That's right, and that's a key point that I think we should really key in on, is the importance of prudent and effective capital management in the philanthropic sector. That's something that my practice focuses its attention on. I've written a book about it. It's important for board members, for presidents of foundations, for any fiduciary person involved in that capacity to understand that their best and greatest asset of that foundation is not so much the hard work that these people do for it, but the assets. Because without the assets, then there's nothing to give away. So you have to be very careful. I suggest firmly that every private foundation has a defined investment policy statement. They review it, and they review it with their advisors. We do that with our clients, and we communicate periodically with our board members and our clients who will sit on boards.
Fantastic. Well, Peter, it's been a real pleasure to visit with you, and I really appreciate your insights. It's fun to get some strategic thinking from an expert on this stuff. So thank you very much for your time today. Now, if people are interested in reaching out to you and getting in touch, what are the best ways to reach you and learn more about your services?
Sure. So you can go to hightoweradvisors.com/Klein, or you could email me at pklein@hightoweradvisors.com, and my telephone is 631-760-7650.
All righty. Peter, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate you, and thank you for your expertise, and wish you all the luck in the world.
My pleasure.
All righty. Let's do some good.
Yes, indeed.